If confirmed legends hooked you, these 33 mysteries hit harder because the evidence exists, but the answers still don't, and you'll see why. 33 ancient stories archaeologists still can't prove, even after major digs. Today, 33 ancient stories, where clues survive but certainty doesn't. From Atlantis to Cleopatra, one clue always twists into another. Stay for number 33, because the last turn is wild. Atlantis, Plato's lost city, nobody can pin down. Millions chased Atlantis, yet it keeps slipping under every map. Plato told the story in Athens, pointing to a vanished sea power. He claimed Solon heard it from Egyptian priests at Sais. Then he dropped the twist. Atlantis sank in a day. Explorers hunted near Santorini, the Azores, even the Bahamas. Each candidate fits one clue, then breaks 3 others. No inscriptions say Atlantis. No palace walls match Plato's timeline. Still, sonar scans find odd shapes and headlines sprint ahead. The mystery survives because the story feels oddly specific. 2. Cleopatra's tomb remains missing after major modern searches. Cleopatra's final resting place is missing, despite decades of digging. After Actium, she and Mark Antony died under Octavian's shadow. Ancient writers placed their tomb near Alexandria, close to the sea. That's the problem. Earthquakes and tsunamis battered Alexandria's shoreline. Divers found sunken statues, streets, and temples in the harbor mud. On land, Kathleen Martinez searched Taposiris Magna for royal clues. Coins, tunnels, and broken statues appear, yet the burial stays quiet. Every season promises a chamber, then delivers another dead-end corridor. History's most famous queen still has no confirmed address. 3. Alexander the Great's lost grave still eludes archaeologists. Alexander's body vanished into politics, and then into the sand. He died in Babylon, and generals fought over his funeral route. Ptolemy hijacked the cortege, steering it toward Egypt's power centers. Later sources say the tomb sat in Alexandria, visited by emperors. Julius Caesar came, Augustus came, even Caligula supposedly came too. Then earthquakes, riots, and rebuilding erased the city's old grid. Diggers find fragments, but no clear Macedonian burial chamber appears. Some hunt Siwa Oasis rumors, chasing a desert detour. The world's most famous conqueror is still missing his marker. 4. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Real wonder, unknown location. A world wonder may be real, but its address keeps shifting. Greek authors describe terraces dripping with plants above ancient Babylon. Yet Babylonian records stay strangely silent about any massive garden. That silence pushed a bold reroute north to Assyrian Nineveh. There, King Sennacherib bragged about a palace and waterworks. His aqueduct at Jerwan shows serious engineering, still visible today. So were they in Babylon, or were writers mixing cities? Either way, someone made greenery defy desert heat with water. The gardens live on, but the map pin won't stick. 5. Nefertiti's burial place. Hidden tomb or empty legend. Nefertiti's tomb is missing, and every theory sparks a new chase. She ruled beside Akhenaten at Amarna during Egypt's upheaval. Some think she vanished early, others think she became Nefertiti. In 2015, scans suggested hidden voids near Tutankhamun's tomb walls. That triggered a frenzy in the Valley of the Kings. Later radar work cooled the claim, and the doorway faded. Meanwhile, mummy candidates like KV-35's younger lady got debated. Nothing lands because the royal timeline around Amarna is messy. So Nefertiti remains famous, pictured everywhere, buried nowhere confirmed. 6. Where is Genghis Khan's tomb? Still undiscovered today. Genghis Khan's burial is a national secret that never expired. Mongol tradition says his escort erased tracks and silenced witnesses. Some tales add a diverted river, like a natural lockbox. Researchers focus on Mongolia's Khenti Mountains near Burkhan Koldun. But the region is vast, sacred, and often protected from digging. Satellites spot mounds, yet each one could be anything. Even if found, politics and respect could halt excavation. So, the greatest conqueror's grave stays hidden by design. Sometimes the best clue is the rule: do not look. 7. The Ark of the Covenant. Vanished relic or misread story. The Ark's trail goes cold, right where the Bible gets loudest. It supposedly held tablets from Moses inside a gold-covered chest. It sat in Jerusalem's first temple, then history turned violent. Babylon conquered the city, and the temple treasures disappeared afterward. Some say priests hid it, others say invaders hauled it away. Ethiopian tradition places it in Aksum, guarded by one monk. Archaeology cannot verify it because no one can inspect that claim. Meanwhile, legends multiply, from caves to crusaders to spies. The Ark stays powerful because it's always almost found. 8. The Tower of Babel. Did a real ziggurat inspire it? Babel sounds mythical until you meet Babylon's real skyline. Babylon had ziggurats, including Etemenenki, a massive stage tower. Ancient kings rebuilt it, bragging about bricks and sacred height. Later storytellers pictured humanity building upward to challenge heaven. Then comes the punchline: languages fracture, cooperation collapses instantly. The ruins are real, but the story's one language is untestable. Still, baked bricks and cuneiform show huge projects did happen. So Babel may be a memory, rewritten into a warning. A real tower might have fueled the biggest linguistic myth. 9. Did the Trojan War happen as Homer claimed it did? Troy is real, but Homer's war reads like a movie. At Hisarlik in Turkey, layers of cities stack like a cake. Heinrich Schliemann dug fast, chasing Homer, and caused real damage. Later archaeology flagged Troy the 70A as a candidate for conflict. Hittite texts mention Wilusa, sounding suspiciously like Ilios today. Yet no tablet says Helen, no scroll lists Greek commanders. Maybe it was one siege, or many raids blended together. Homer could be compressing generations into one dramatic decade. Troy exists, but the Iliad's details still resist proof. 10. The Trojan horse. Real trick or literary symbol only. Everyone knows the horse, yet no one finds its hoofprints. Homer's Iliad barely features it. Later poets made it iconic. A wooden giant seems absurd, especially for Bronze Age logistics. So scholars pitch alternatives: a battering ram or an earthquake metaphor. Poseidon was Earthshaker, and Troy's walls may have cracked. But stories love a sneaky prop, not a boring trimmer. No workshop remains, no shipping logs, no splintered timbers identified. Still, the horse explains defeat with drama, not just hunger. That's why it survives, even without a single nailed plank. 11. The Exodus from Egypt. Evidence gaps that won't close. The Exodus shapes identities, yet the desert leaves few receipts. The Bible describes a mass departure from Egypt under Moses. Egyptian records don't mention it directly, which fuels endless arguments. Some point to smaller Semitic movements during the New Kingdom. Others compare plagues to natural disasters, like blooms or storms. The only clear early Israel reference is the Meneptah stele. That proves a people existed, not how they arrived there. So the story's scale, route, and timing remain unsettled. It's history's biggest road trip, but the hardest paper trail. 12. King Solomon's temple treasures. Hidden hoard or myth? Temple treasures vanished, and everyone wants them to reappear. Solomon's temple is central in Jerusalem, yet archaeology is constrained. Babylon's conquest in 586 BCE is the turning point. Afterward, texts list seized objects, but the biggest items fade. Later, Rome carried sacred spoils after crushing the Second Temple. The Arch of Titus shows a menorah, turning relief into evidence. But that's later, and it doesn't solve Solomon's original trove. Hidden chamber rumors flourish because the Temple Mount is sensitive. So treasure stories fill the silence where excavation cannot go. 13. The Queen of Sheba, historical monarch or storytelling icon. Sheba arrives like a celebrity, then slips into the fog. Biblical tradition says she visited Solomon with riddles and gifts. Many place her kingdom in Saba, centered in Yemen's Marib. South Arabia had incense wealth, temples, and long-distance trade routes. Ethiopian tradition calls her Makeda, linking her to later emperors. But no inscription clearly names her as Solomon's famous visitor. So she may be one queen, or a title for rulers. Either way, her story bridges Africa, Arabia, and Israel. The mystery is whether she was a person or a role. 14. The Garden of Eden. Can any real place fit? Eden sounds like poetry, yet it's described with river geography. Genesis names the Tigris and Euphrates, grounding the story in Mesopotamia. That sparks map games, trying to match 4 rivers to reality. Some argue the other rivers reflect lost channels near the Persian Gulf. Others suggest Eden is symbolic, a memory of fertile wetlands. Archaeology can find gardens and canals, but not paradise itself. Still, ancient Mesopotamians built irrigated worlds in harsh landscapes. So Eden could be a place transformed into an idea. The coordinates tease you, then vanish when you zoom in. 15. The Great Flood, one catastrophe behind many ancient myths. Flood stories repeat worldwide, like an echo across millennia. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh tells a boat survival tale. Earlier tablets mention Atrahasis, with gods arguing over human noise. Those texts predate biblical versions, complicating simple origin stories. Real floods hit the Tigris and Euphrates hard and often. Some researchers also point to rising seas after the Ice Age. But no single flood explains every culture's version cleanly. So the flood may be many disasters fused into one memory. The plot feels universal because water erases, then forces rebuilding. 16. Noah's Ark on Ararat. Famous claims, no final proof. Every few years, Noah's Ark found returns like a sequel. Mount Ararat in Turkey becomes the stage for each announcement. Teams photograph shapes in ice, then the shapes change next season. The Darupanar site, a boat-like formation, drew major attention too. Tests and debates followed, but geology keeps offering mundane explanations. Wood fragments appear, but provenance stays fuzzy and contested. Meanwhile, local legends and tourism keep the story alive. If an ark existed, it would be ancient, fragile, and scattered. So certainty stays out of reach even as cameras roll. 17. Sodom and Gomorrah, which ruins match, the ancient account. 2 cities vanish in fire, and everyone argues where it happened. The Bible places them near the Dead Sea's harsh southern basin. Archaeologists examined sites like Bab ed-Adra and Numeira for destruction layers. Some point farther north to Tal el-Hammam, sparking heated debate. Burn layers can come from war, accident, or natural catastrophe. Salt, asphalt, and bitumen in the region add dramatic texture. But matching a moral story to a ruin is tricky. Names shift, traditions move, and geography gets reimagined over centuries. So, Sodom remains a location hunt with theological baggage attached. 18. The Lost Library of Alexandria. Did any scrolls survive? Alexandria built a knowledge empire, then lost it in pieces. The library grew under the Ptolemies, alongside the museum scholars. Scrolls arrived by ship, copied by scribes, and cataloged obsessively. Then, disasters struck in stages, not one tidy cinematic blaze. Caesar's war, later unrest, and the Serapeum's destruction all matter. By late antiquity, the scholarly world had already shifted elsewhere. Occasionally, papyri surface, but none are labeled library originals. So we mourn an institution more than a single building. The tragedy is gradual, knowledge leaking away, one crisis at a time. 19. The Tomb of Gilgamesh, legend tied to a real city. Gilgamesh feels mythical, yet his city Uruk is real. The epic places him in ancient Sumer, wrestling gods and grief. In the 2000s, researchers reported structures under a dried riverbed. That sparked headlines about a tomb buried beneath diverted waters. But the evidence is indirect, and excavation in a rock is complex. Even if a burial exists, linking it to Gilgamesh is hard. Kings were real, stories grew, and names became symbols over centuries. So the find might be a tomb, just not his. The hook remains, legend anchored to mud brick streets you can visit. 20. Göbekli Tepe, Temple of Hunters or something far stranger. Stone pillars rose before farming, flipping the usual history script. Göbekli Tepe sits in southeastern Turkey, near modern Şanlıurfa. Klaus Schmidt revealed circular enclosures with T-shaped pillars and carvings. Foxes, snakes, and vultures stare from stone like ancient billboards. There are no houses nearby, suggesting people gathered, then went home. Then comes the surprise. The site was deliberately buried with rubble. Was it a shrine, a meeting place, or a social experiment? We can date the stonework, but not the beliefs behind it. It's a cathedral built by hunter-gatherers, and that still shocks. 21. The Sphinx's secret chambers, myth, radar, and missing rooms. People expect hidden treasure under the Sphinx, but reality is messy. The Great Sphinx guards Giza, carved from bedrock in ancient Egypt. Cracks and tunnels exist because limestone weathers and restorations happen. Geophysical surveys found anomalies, but anomalies are not secret vaults. Robotic probes explored narrow shafts, finding debris and blocked passages. Edgar Cayce's Hall of Records claim keeps resurfacing anyway. Zahi Hawass often pushed back, urging evidence over fantasy. Still, every new scan revives whispers of chambers below pause. 22. The Nazca Lines, sky messages or ground ritual pathways. Nazca drawings look made for airplanes, centuries before airplanes existed. Maria Reich mapped them, protecting the desert canvas from footprints. Some think they were astronomical markers, like a desert calendar. Others argue they were ritual paths, walked during water ceremonies. You can follow a line and realize it's meant for feet. The twist is simple. They may be performance, not message. Like, they're huge because the ritual needed space, not because aliens called. 23. The Indescript, messages nobody can decipher with certainty. An entire civilization wrote signs, and we still can't read them. Indus cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa use standardized weights and seals. That's the curse. Short texts give almost no decoding leverage. No bilingual Rosetta Stone exists to bridge languages and meanings. Some scholars doubt its full writing. Others argue it definitely is. Either way, the people ran cities, traded widely, and left silence. Imagine trying to read English from 5-letter license plates only. That's why the Indescript keeps winning and refusing translation. 24. The Minoan Collapse, what really ended Bronze Age Crete. Minoan palaces fell, and the cause keeps changing with evidence. Crete's Minoans built Knossos, frescoes, and a seafaring trade network. But palaces show later fires and rebuilding, not one clean apocalypse. Mycenaean Greeks appear in records, and Linear B replaces earlier script. Earthquakes, warfare, and economic stress may have piled up together. So the collapse could be a slow unraveling, not a single blast. Like dominoes, the first hit matters less than the chain. We can track ruins, but not the exact moment the tide turned. 25. The lost city of Ubar, Atlantis of the Sands, or Mirage. A lost city hit headlines, then the desert complicated the story. In Oman, explorers linked Iram of the Pillars to a site. At Shisara, a fort sits near old caravan routes for frankincense. A sinkhole collapse there fueled the dramatic swallowed by sand image. But archaeologists argue it was a trading outpost, not a metropolis. Still, satellite imagery helped locate paths, making the hunt feel modern. So Ubar exists and doesn't, depending on what you expected. Either way, the empty quarter keeps more secrets than it gives. 26. El Dorado, the city of gold that keeps moving. El Dorado started as a person, then inflated into a city. The Muisca in Colombia held rituals at Lake Guadavita. Spanish conquerors heard gold, and their imaginations did the rest. Soon, El Dorado migrated on maps, leaping across forests and rivers. Sir Walter Raleigh chased it, turning hope into repeated disaster. Expeditions starved, mutinied, and vanished, leaving rumors as breadcrumbs. But a city of gold sells better than a ceremony. 27. King Solomon's Mines, real source of wealth or colonial fantasy. Solomon's mines became famous, mostly because Victorian fiction loved them. The Bible mentions Solomon's wealth, then later writers filled the gaps. In the 1800s, Europeans searched southern Africa for ancient Israel traces. Great Zimbabwe's stone ruins got misattributed to foreign builders for years. Archaeology corrected that, showing African origins and regional trade power. Still, the mines idea persists because gold and mystery are addictive. Some link it to Arabia or Africa's interior without hard proof. So the story is part archaeology, part colonial imagination at work. The mine might be a network, not one secret shaft. 28. The location of Ophir, where Solomon's gold really came from. Ophir is a biblical place name, and nobody can pin it down. Texts link it with gold, exotic goods, and long voyages. Candidates stretch from southern Arabia to East Africa to India. The goods list includes things like ivory, apes, and peacocks. That mix hints at Indian Ocean trade more than Mediterranean sailing. But ancient names travel, and translators may have shifted meanings. So Ophir could be one port, or a label for far away. Each proposal matches some items, then collides with geography. Ophir stays slippery because the ancient supply chain was huge. 29. Hannibal's Alps crossing. Which pass did he really use? Hannibal crossed the Alps, and the mountains still argue back. In 218 BCE, he led Carthaginians and elephants toward Roman Italy. Polybius and Livy give clues, but the landscape keeps changing. Snowfields, landslides, and new roads blur the ancient route options. Modern teams compare vistas, distances, and even old rockfall descriptions. One study searched for ancient manure bacteria, chasing elephant traces. But a trace proves presence, not the exact pass name. So candidates like Traverset and Clapier trade headlines every decade. The march is certain. The path remains a white, winding question. 30. The Hittites. In the Bible, history or retroactive writing? For centuries, skeptics called the Hittites biblical fiction. Then archaeology answered. At Hattusa in Turkey, tablets revealed a powerful Bronze Age empire. Suddenly, Hittite wasn't a footnote, it was a superpower. Kings made treaties, fought Egypt, and wrote in cuneiform script. The famous Kadesh Treaty shows diplomacy, Not just battlefield chaos. But linking those Hittites to every biblical mention is still tricky. The Bible uses names broadly, sometimes for regions or groups. So the myth bust is real, but the details stayed debated. Archaeology proved they existed. Not every story told about them. 31. The Xia Dynasty, China's first dynasty, or later legend. China's first dynasty is famous in texts and hazy in dirt. Ancient histories describe Xia kings before the Shang ruled bronze cities. At Erlitou, archaeologists found palaces, roads, and elite burials. The dates fit early statehood, and the culture looks organized. But no inscription there says Xia, so identification is indirect. Later dynasties may have shaped the Xia story to legitimize rule, so Erlitou could be Xia, or a neighbor remembered as Xia. It's like finding a crown without a name etched inside. The dynasty might be real, yet still anonymous in the ground. 32. The Oracle of Delphi. How did the prophecies work? Delphi's oracle shaped Greek politics, and nobody agrees how it worked. Pilgrims climbed Mount Parnassus to consult Apollo's priestess, the Pythia. She sat above a sacred chasm inside the temple of Apollo. Priests interpreted her trance-like speech, turning murmurs into policy advice. Some scientists propose gases like ethylene could induce altered states. Others argue ritual, fasting, and expectation were enough to shift minds. Either way, Delphi's answers stayed famously double-edged and hard to disprove. Kings heard what they feared, then marched anyway into ruin. The mystery is less magic, more the machinery of belief. 33. The Copper Scroll Treasure. Hidden cache still not found. A scroll listed treasure and then refused to deliver it. Among the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Copper Scroll is uniquely metal. It reads like an inventory, naming caches of gold and silver. The locations use ancient landmarks, many now lost or ambiguous. Searchers dug around Kuman and beyond, hoping for a jackpot. Nothing matched the list, which makes it either genius or prank. Some think it references temple wealth hidden before Roman destruction. Others suspect it's symbolic, like a coded religious message. Until a cache appears, the Copper Scroll keeps trolling archaeology,